Hey everybody, this is Steve Nahuson. So I've had a few questions from different people around what pump do I use with my stand-up paddleboard. So I thought it would be worthwhile actually making a video on the pump that I use and how it helps me actually get out in the water. Now, while I have an iRocker SUP as well as an iRocker pump, this is not actually a paid advertisement from iRocker. I don't get paid anything for this. I bought all this with my own money. So this is actually just my impressions as to how effective, firstly, the iRocker electric pump and battery is for an iSUP, and secondly, I guess, just using an electric pump in general as compared to the hand-powered version, which of course gives you a great workout, but it does require a bit more effort. So let's take a look at the iRocker electric pump and battery pack. So the first thing you'll notice is that the battery itself is actually quite compact. It's quite small. It weighs in around about 350 grams and has two ports on the end, which is one for charging and one for output. And of course, a socket in the side, which is used to plug in your external pump. The iRocker pump has got a little compartment with a hinge door on it that you use the cable to plug into your battery pack, and away you go. The pump is quite straightforward in design as well. It's got, of course, the hose that plugs into your iSUP, as well as the little control panel, which gives you all the information you need in order to inflate your pump, and a number of buttons to choose different options based on what you want to use. Now, what I've found is that I just set pressure, which is 15 pounds for my iSUP, and I plug it in and press auto, and that's all I need to do. As soon as it hits the 15 psi, it cuts off automatically, and there you go, your iSUP is inflated to the required level. But you do have some other options in here that I can explain.
So the first button is where you can change it from PSI to bar setting. The second is actually where you set the automatic cutoff for the inflation of the iSUP. In this example, my iSUP is set at 15 psi, but you can change that up and down depending on what your inflation requirements are for your particular inflatable stand-up paddleboard. The next button is the auto button, which I've already talked about, and the last two are where you can actually manually fill your pump under either high pressure or low pressure.
The pump itself has got two stages. If you're inflating a fully deflated iSUP, it runs in a high volume phase, which is a lot quieter, and it just sounds like, I guess, a vacuum cleaner sort of a sound, where it actually throws air into the iSUP until it hits around about 3 or 4 psi, at which point it then changes modes and you actually hear the noise that you can hear in the background now, where it's actually quite a little bit louder, but it actually is now pushing under much more effort into the iSUP to actually inflate the paddleboard itself. It runs like that until it actually hits the desired psi, and then it cuts out automatically. Now, with the battery pack in this particular outfit, with the iRocker battery pack and pump, you actually get to inflate two boards with one charge, and at which point you have to recharge the battery again. It takes around about 6 or 7 hours, I guess, to recharge the battery. But I must say that that it is absolutely fantastic, and I have used a hand pump before, which is fine. But you know, it does get a little bit tiresome after a while, particularly if you're inflating your paddleboard a fair bit. Now, one thing that I also like to do with my particular setup is that I leave my board partially inflated. When I come back from a paddle, I wash it all down and I clean it up, let it dry off, and I put it back in my rack. But before I actually install it back in the rack, I drop around about 5 or 6 psi out of the board. So I actually drop it down to about 9 or 10 pounds. And that way, in the area that I keep it, if it happens to get hot during the day on a summer's day, it doesn't do any damage to the iSUP through overinflation and build up of pressure. So it's always important that every time I take the board out, I do need to put some air in it, and having the battery and the pump is a really handy option. So just wanted to share those thoughts with you. Look, I give it a 10 out of 10. It's really handy, very portable, and works really well. So my experience with the electric pump and the external battery pack is a must if you've got an iSUP and you like going out on the water pretty often, and it's really worth the fairly small investment in buying that piece of kit. So that's it from me, Steve Nahuson, for now, signing off. Thank you.